This struggle is not just an academic debate. It is about whose stories and histories get told, whose ideas are recognised, who gets to speak with authority, and who takes real action. This informs the stories that create our national sense of self, the ideas shaping our culture, and the debate over whose history becomes our common mythology. The conversation about whiteness may be underway, but the earnest words shouldn't become a convenient distraction from the concrete action. So this is from an article by Dr. Myriam Francois, who's a journalist and research associate at the Centre of Islamic Studies, SOAS, University of London. And I'm going to put a link in the description to this particular article that I urge all my Toy Talks listeners to go and have a read. It makes for interesting reading. I'm not going to divulge what it's about, but obviously from the piece that I've just read from the actual article, it should give you a flavour. I am, do you know what? I hate coming on here and then saying I am irritated, but I am. I've been trying to record this episode for the last 45 minutes because for some reason my equipment didn't want to work. I don't understand. I really don't understand. But all I can imagine is that the devil doesn't want me to speak on what needs to be spoken on. And you know, where the children of God are, that's where God stays, protecting them. So God said, no, my child, I'm going to protect you from the headache that you are feeling, and I'm going to make your equipment work. And here we are. Woo! You are listening to the Toya Talks podcast, and my name is Toy Washington. How are you all doing? What are you up to? I know you're expecting a dilemma, and so was I. Honestly, I've pre-recorded some dilemmas, but this one materialized into a dilemma last week, and I thought, you know what? I need to get the word out. This needs to come out. I need to talk about it on my podcast. It is a dilemma, but not a dilemma at the time in which I did my last episode. Does that make sense? It probably doesn't. Anyway, so I want to get underway and just explain what happened. And I really thought it was quite poignant for this podcast episode, just because, you know, I get a load of questions all the time on my social media from listeners, and they ask me, you know, Toya, can you do an episode about boundaries, workplace boundaries, and setting those boundaries? And unfortunately, I don't think I can, because I feel like if I was to do an episode on how to set workplace boundaries and just about boundaries in general, I'll be missing something out, because in every single episode of the Toy Talks podcast, it relates to boundaries as well. And I just feel like boundaries is one of those topics that weaves in and out of each episode. So I don't think it's possible to just do one dedicated episode. I think as it comes up, I will point things out. But this particular situation was very poignant to the topic of boundaries, but a few other things arose. Anyway, I shared it briefly on my Snapchat, but really high level, and I thought, right, I'll save the meat of it for this episode. So even though this relates to contractors, there's something to learn for everybody. Workplace boundaries are for people who go into a workplace, you work for somebody, and as you all know, my episode is targeted towards Black women because I am a Black woman and our experiences of the workplace are very, very, very different. So this organisation I've been contracting at, I've been there since November. And when I got there, there were a load of other contractors there. But obviously, as Black women do, we tend to gravitate to each other, don't we? So with the other contractors, I get on really well with them. But there was one lady in particular called Myriam or Myriam. And we got on really, really well. But Myriam and I are really, really different in our approaches. Myriam is extremely outgoing. I think she's very over-familiar. You know, she's the type that will go to the Christmas party, even though she's a contractor. But anyway, contractors can go to Christmas parties as long as you know, make sure your boundaries are set. She will go to drinks with them. She will go and get them around. She does team too much. As far as I'm concerned, she does team too much. And that is just my opinion. And I didn't share that opinion with her because I was not asked for it. It's not my business. My approach is completely different. I am very stoic in the way I deal with them, just because I've taken the time to do my due diligence. And I think in every organization that you go to, whether you're a perm, whether you're a contractor, fixed term, whatever, you need to do a level of due diligence when you start. And it's an opportunity to see the landscape of people that you're going to be working with, because there are crazies and you need to know which ones, number one, you need to stay away from. Number two, you need to maybe manage. And number three, who are the troublemakers? And, you know, in another episode, I will tell you like some of the headings of people you tend to encounter in the workplace. But for the purposes of this episode, I believe that doing your due diligence is something that is imperative to the survival of your employment, because if you do not know or understand how to navigate the workplace from the jump, you will be swallowed up into politics. You'll be swallowed up into the, I believe, often damaging ways in which workplaces operate. So I had done my due diligence, as I do all the time. And I've seen that the culture is very aggressive in nature. You know, there's not a lot of black people there. Surprise, surprise. But, you know, you've got the COO talking about willies and bumholes. And, you know, those are the type of conversations they're having. I can see that there are no boundaries that they set for each other. So my approach is to be quite stoic. You know, I can have a chit chat, but it is just a chit chat. I sit there with my headphones on, I do my work, I deliver, and I leave. I'm not into, you know, the personal conversations. I'm not like that. Whereas Myriam is like that. Now, everybody's approaches are different, and that, if that's what works for Myriam, fair enough. But I could see from the get-go that it's not going to end very well, because the type of people who who are over familiar and in the workplace, therefore there's no respect. You can't expect people to respect you if you do not set the tone of the respect that you want to receive in the workplace. Does that make sense? So one day, Myriam and I were going to lunch, and you know how it is when you're going to lunch with a black person. Everybody in the workplace, they just look at each other. Two black people, oh my God, this is an uprising. Dickheads. Anyway, we went off to lunch, and as we were going off to lunch, Myriam was saying to me, you know, Toya, I think that you're a bit too harsh and a bit too cold. I think you just need to be a bit more warmer, because I know you're quite a warm person, but here you're just quite closed off, and I feel like you just need to open up and just be friendly. I said to her, Myriam, I am friendly, but I have boundaries that I've set for a reason. These people don't even respect each other, and I'm coming in here as a black woman. I know the stage has been set, the stereotypes have been set already, and that's fine. But what I do not want to happen is there to be a situation where I'm disrespected. I demand my respect, and therefore I have to set the tone of respect that I hope to receive. And when I say I demand my respect, is because I respect each and every one of them. They know how far they can go with me, and therefore it will breed respect. But your approach, if it works for you, great. But the difference between you and I is they're more likely to think about what they're going to say before they speak to me. With you, they just say whatever they like. And it was quite a heated exchange between me and Myriam. And it really irritated me. It irritated me because it was unsolicited conversation that she's having with me about how I interact with them, or how I interact with that particular organisation. And I haven't given her my opinion. And if I was to give her my opinion about how I think that she interacts with them, she's not going to like it. But in any case, I thought, do you know what, Toya? You've made your point. Just withdraw. A word is enough for the wise. You know, Thursday evenings, be packing my bag, and she keeps doing this thing where she'll be shouting across the room, Toya, you're going to come to drinks with everybody, almost like trying to put me on the spot. I'm the wrong bitch for that, you know. Anyway, I'm not a bitch though, but you know what I mean. I'm the wrong one. I am always going to be the wrong one to put. Don't put me on the spot, because if you put me on the spot, I'll embarrass you. So when she would do that, I'll be like, no. And then I'll just turn around and pack my stuff. It'll be one word answers. And then, you know, everyone would just be looking at her like, you've really made a spectacle of yourself. And then what she will do, she'll go and drink. And she will never know when to leave that drinking. She will get to work late, maybe the next day, because she thinks that now they're her friends, innit? And I definitely think that I think she was so focused on being accepted, she couldn't see the fact that acceptance doesn't necessarily come from compromising yourself or compromising your morals, but she continuously, week in, week out, is compromising herself, compromising her morals, keying and ha, that's fine, whatever. But she would always take it like up a notch. Anyway, you know, when it comes to being a contractor, we work completely differently. We're not employees. We have set hours to do. We do those set hours, we deliver, we leave, right? So for all intents and purposes, we're not really involved in any of the politics. All your team meetings, we're not involved in it because we are a limited company. We're not employees, and therefore there needs to be a distinction. So there were times when Myriam would come in late. It's no different to every other contractor. I mean, the whole of last week I was late. Do you understand? Like, as long as I do my hours, it's fine. And obviously there's a virus going around, not coronavirus, but there's a virus going around the office. So, you know, periodically people are off sick and things like that. And Myriam was no different. So last week, Thursday, Myriam had been off for like 2 days, but she was working from home. Nothing out of the ordinary. We all do it. I do it. She came in a bit late. I'd come in a bit late. We all do it. Not a big deal. So I had gone out to get coffee. So by the time I got back to my desk, I was told that Myriam had been looking for me because I had texted her to make sure that she was okay because I had heard that she wasn't well. So I went over to her desk. I said, "Hey, you were looking for me?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I just want to see how you're doing." I was like, "Yeah, I'm really good." We had a bit of a laugh, as we do. And then I went back to my desk, and then probably I'd say about 20 minutes later, someone from Myriam's team came over to me, and she's like, "Toy, I need to talk to you." And I'm confused at this point because I'm like, what do you need to talk to me about? And I'm just there looking at her like, "Me? Are you sure?" She's like, "Yeah, Toy, I need to speak to you." So the member of Myriam's team, I went outside, and she says, "Toya, Myriam her contract's been terminated with immediate effect, and they've basically escorted her out of the building. And I just happened to be downstairs when they were doing this, and she asked me to ask you to give her a call." I was like, pardon? Come again? And she repeated it. I was like, "I don't understand." I said, "I just saw her 20 minutes ago." She was like, "Yeah, Toya, like literally it was 20 minutes, like the last 20 minutes. I was like, "Okay, cool." So I was really confused, but I picked up my phone and I went downstairs. And as I'm calling Myriam, who walks past me? Myriam. So she'd come back into the building. And I said, "What's going on?" So she explained to me that they called her into a meeting, and they said to her that, they're not happy with her attendance and her lateness, and that they're terminating her contract with immediate effect, and that they know that there's a 1 week notice period, but they're willing to pay her the 1 week notice period. She doesn't have to come back in. And then they frog marched her out. So I said to her, "Right, first of all, they didn't terminate your contract because you were late. That's rubbish. And attendance, that's rubbish. Because between all of us lot, we all probably have the same amount of attendance. We're always late. And if you was a perm member of staff and lateness was an issue, there would be like conversations had. There'd be a process before they get rid of you." I said, "You've just also told me that they're happy with your deliverables and your work. So you really think they're going to be petty enough for lateness? That's madness. That just," I said to it doesn't make sense. It's beyond human comprehension. I says, I don't, that's not the reason. And then they frog march you out of the office like you've stolen like top classified information. I said, "That's crazy. That's too far fetched for it just to be about lateness." And she goes, "I agree." She goes, "I told them at the end of the day I'm a contractor, so we don't work to the same rules in terms of lateness and things like that as long as we deliver our hours." And I said, "Yeah, but they've gone as far as telling you not to come back in the office. They'll pay you 1 week." I said, "I'm sorry, Myriam, I wasn't party to that conversation, but either you're not telling me the truth or they're not telling you the truth, because this is just too far-fetched for it to be about lateness. And it's not like we're all always late. It's not just you." And she was talking, and I said, "Myriam, you know what? Do you want me to be honest with you?" She says, "Yeah, I do. I want you to be completely honest. That's why I asked you to call me." I said, Myriam, you need to take responsibility for this, because I think in every situation there's always something for us to learn, and I've learned from this situation, but I don't know if you fully grasp the learnings from this situation. I said, you caused this. I said, you became over familiar with them. You allowed them to be over familiar with you. You compromised yourself. You would go to drinks with them. You would get drunk with them. You would do everything to be friendly. And I think that that was your way of trying to secure your contract. You wanted to feel like, right, I can get to my end of the contract. They're never going to sack me because I get on really well with them. And the reality is they had no respect for you. And we can see that in the way they treated you. Even if they wanted to terminate your contract for this reason, even if that's the case, they waited for you to come into the office. They waited for you to open your laptop, send emails, do some work, and then decide to terminate your contract. They didn't even give you the respect of having an informal maybe discussion with you. It's come from nowhere. But last week, you were buying rounds for them. I said, well, first of all, you need to ask them to reimburse you. No, I'm joking. But I said, first of all, you need to like have a think about how you played a part in that, because I feel like because you compromised yourself with them, they can't respect you because you haven't shown yourself respect. You haven't set boundaries with them. And the heavy-handedness in which they frog marched you out of the office as if you had stolen something in front of your work colleagues. That is embarrassing. I said, but a few weeks ago, you were having conversations with me about me being quite stoic and quite cold towards them, but they could never treat me in the way they've treated you. Never. Because I would rather they feel like they have to tiptoe around me and afford me the respect I deserve than to disrespect me, having these lurid conversations that you guys have on willies and bums and eyes and no, like all this silly conversations you're having, and you're going to drinks with them. What have you got out of it apart from disrespect? She agreed. I said to her, at the end of the day, I think it's a learning curve, even for me, that or you bought people in the workplace. I'm so sorry. It's not, when I talk about white people in the workplace, I'm not talking about all white people, because I know it's not all white people, but there are white people who are prejudiced, who are racist, who are discriminatory, who treat black people differently to other races in the office. That is just the reality of it. There are people that do that, and they're white because the workplace is a white construct. Do you understand? And even when white people hire you, sometimes they hire you because, number one, you're the best in class at what you do. Number two, they don't have any option. Or number three, to keep their diversity figures intact. Do you understand? Either way, you have to make sure that you are above average to be able to be considered as qualified to do a certain role. Do you understand? But that doesn't mean that when they hire us, they like us, or sometimes they just don't have a choice. Yeah? But they don't like to see us. I genuinely believe they don't like to see us. I said to Myriam, don't you know that before they hear you, they see you? You compromised yourself. You're a black woman. We have to move differently in white spaces. We have to move smart in white spaces. We have to move strategically in white spaces. And you didn't move strategically. You didn't move smart. And you didn't actually take time to do your due diligence about these people. Because had you done that, you would still be in a contract. Had you done that, there's no way they would disrespect you by frog marching you out of the office in front of everybody. For lateness? No. I said they couldn't even afford you the respect of having a conversation with you. Hi, Myriam, we're a bit concerned about your lateness. And then that would have been an opportunity for you to assert the fact that you're a contractor, and therefore you don't work to the same measure and standard as employees. And therefore, as long as you deliver your hours, it's fine. I said, but you completely compromised yourself. And this is why you're in this situation. I know Myriam wasn't happy with what I said, but I would be the only one to say it to her. She asked her colleague to come and call me. So if you're asking me to come down and talk to you, then you're asking me to tell you the truth. Anyway, push come to shove, Myriam and I had that conversation, and you could see that she was really caught unawares, really dumbfounded, really, really upset. And I actually felt really, really sorry for her, because I think that she had done everything she could to be accepted by these white people that she works with, only to see that she was never accepted. All that money, that she'd been spending on alcohol, all that kikiing and ha-haing, all that time was for nothing. Because before they hear you, they see you. She's a black woman first. And she didn't want to accept that. Rather, she criticized me in the way I'm dealing with these people. But you've got to understand something. These people know that, you see all these cheap talks and cheap laugh and dirty conversations they have. They know they can never, ever have those conversations with me. When I walk in the morning, I throw a general good morning. I don't say, good morning, Michael. Good morning, Lee. Good morning, Thomas. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Dinah. I haven't got time to name all these people like a shopping list. I ain't got time for it. I throw out a general good morning. Catch it if you can. If you can't, leave it where it is. This one Myriam will come in and she will morning everybody. Bah, 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 bah. All those people that she names in that list, not one of them stuck up for her. Not one of them came out to see if she was okay. Not one of them said a word. When she was frog marched, everybody was there bending their head and looking and seeing and whatever. Luckily, I had my back to where she was sitting, so I had no clue what was happening behind me. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. You cannot expect respect unless you sow respect. Did you hear what I said? You cannot expect respect unless you sow respect. It's when you sow respect that you can harvest respect. Like I said, I come in, morning, throw a general good morning. Oh, Toya, have you seen in the Daily Mail? They're reporting da-da-da-da-da. Oh, really? No, I didn't see it. I don't get involved in that there low-level chit-chat. No, I call that tier 1 chit-chat. I don't get involved in that. That's some bullshit. Maybe something might happen in the office that's funny. I might join in and laugh with them. Yeah. Because there is still a human element of work. There's still a likability factor. But like I said, different workplaces get different versions of Toya, you know. If you go to some of the old places I've worked, they will tell you, I am funny, I'm the life and soul, I am myself with certain organizations. But we've worked up to that level. And I've done my due diligence to see how far I will allow them to go with me. Some workplaces will even say, oh, yeah. Toya's got a boyfriend, da-da-da-da-da. Some workplaces will say, oh, really? I didn't even know that about her. They get different versions of me depending on the workplace. I can't have a blanket way of dealing with everybody because, like I said, different workplaces have different types of people. There's different atmosphere. I've worked in an organization that has been so diverse that I felt comfortable being myself, putting my African accent on if I felt like it, still delivering, still getting respect from my colleagues because I'm really good at my job and I deliver and I am a results-based person, but still having that likability factor. But in this particular organization, no. You can't do that. And it's very obvious to see in this particular organization that they don't have no boundaries with each other. They're disrespectful. Even the CEO, that man is a deplorable human being. And there is a special episode dedicated to him. I've never seen any CEO like that before. Disgusting. But he can't be like that with me. Because I don't give him face. When he's doing that, his cheap laugh, I just keep my stoic face. Yeah. Me. Don't get it twisted. In every organization, people are going to test your boundaries. But it's the way you deal with those people. And again, I've got an episode dedicated to that. In how to react when people test those boundaries. Because it's not every time that you have to react. Sometimes a one word is enough to deflate stupidity in the workplace. Back to Myriam. So this is not a nice time for a contractor to be out of a contract, especially with the IR35. It's a horrible time for her to have her contract terminated. And that's where I felt sorry for her, because I felt like, you know, you hold on to a contract if you're in one for as long as possible currently. And then obviously if it's terminated, it comes to an end or a natural end, then, you know, you can go off and do what you want. But her contract was until, I believe, middle of May. And it is now, February. Flipping out of order. So anyway, after I had that conversation with Myriam, I just said to her, you know, I'll check on you later tonight. I said, just go home, just relax. I know it's been a lot. It's a lot to compute and digest. But, you know, bear in mind that at the end of the day, you can't change it. It is what it is. She hugged me and we left it there. Oh, I forgot to add as well. I don't know how Myriam had done this, but I, upon having that conversation with her, she told me that they all have each other's number. Let me tell you something. In this organization, do you know the only people that have my number? The head of department where I'm consulting, the head of that department, the one that authorizes my timesheet, he has my number. Do you know why he has my number? Because he authorizes my timesheet, and I need to make sure he does authorize it on time. That's why. The second, we have the fire warden. So if there was like a fire or anything, they got my number to contact me, or just to make sure I'm okay, or whatever it is. Security, Abby. Mm-hmm. And then the contractors who are contracting like me, 3 of them have my number. Why has Myriam made sure that everyone in that her team has her number, and they're all in a WhatsApp group? I mean, come on. Even if you wasn't a contractor, why have you got a WhatsApp group? Your manager, everybody's there. And knowing Myriam as I know her, I know when they're telling their stupid jokes, she puts it on there. Key, ha, ha, ha. Saturday and Sunday, ha, ha, ha. Monday to Friday, ha, ha, ha. Who is laughing now? Not Myriam. She thought I don't know whether she thought they were friends. I don't understand. And I know you spend more time at work than you do at home, but come on, make it make sense. So after that now, yesterday, or was it day before yesterday, I get a message from Myriam. So we've had this conversation. She's had some time to process it. She sends me this. Yo, Toya. Hope everything is decent and you had a great weekend. I hope these fuckers, excuse my language, didn't cause you too much aggro yesterday. Question. I've been thinking about texting Thomas to get certain things off my chest. What do you think? I don't need a reference from him, and given how IR35 is going, I won't be getting another contract in the financial sector. Laugh out loud. When I saw this, I was so irritated because I realised that no matter how much talking I'm doing with Myriam, she's not understanding. And because she's not understanding, she's going to continue to find herself in these type of situations. You want to get something off your chest. They don't give a flying fuck. They don't give a shit. This what you want to get off your chest. You need to get it off your chest with yourself. You need to look at the mirror and be honest with yourself. These white people don't give a toss. They didn't give a toss about respect, dignity, and they didn't even dignify you with the opportunity to have a conversation with you before they frog marched you out of the office. And these are the people that you want to get it off your chest. Okay, so once you got off your chest, and then what next? Sometimes being angry with these people is the easiest option when you know that you've handled things the wrong way. You need to be honest and have honest conversations with yourself and say, you know what? I should have handled this differently. At the end of the day, I'm a black woman first. Navigating the workspace is completely different as a black woman. I didn't do my due diligence, and it's important that, yes, I wanted to get on with them, but it's a progressive journey. And I shouldn't have compromised myself, gone out to drinks with them every single week, sometimes twice a week, getting drunk with them, maybe being inappropriate in a WhatsApp group. I should have created some workplace boundaries. And because I didn't, I found myself in this space. She needs to take responsibility. And that's exactly what I said. I sent her a voice note and I told her just that. I don't want to hear about this topic no more because I've spoken to you. If you don't want to learn from this situation, it will happen again. You don't need a reference from him, Listen, this reference thing is neither here nor there. The reality is you feel slighted, you're annoyed, and you want to let them know how annoyed you are. But at the end of the day, the wheels are still churning, my dear, and they will replace you next week. They're not interested. So it's that in the workplace, as black women, we are elite politicians. You are a politician. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to get involved in it or not, the fact that you work for an organisation, you are involved in the politics by default. And I call us elite politicians because we are, number one, underestimated. So they never see us coming. And that is our superpower. But I'm sharing with you through my podcast the way I believe it's important to navigate the social aspects of work to become successful. Because I see it as this, and the reality is this. I am successful in navigating the social aspects of work because my experience and everything I've learned has positioned me in a place whereby I know how to manage white people in white constructs like the workplace. I definitely do. Because in the workplace, it's not created in the favor of black people, especially not black women. And we find ourselves in these workplaces, and it's almost like the way we've been raised is to be grateful that we're even in this place. And then that's what they use, that gratitude, to oppress us. And no. It doesn't work like that. I've worked, as we all have worked, really hard for everything that we have to be able to enter these workspaces. What we were never taught is how to navigate the social aspects of these workspaces. It becomes political when you feel and know and see that you are one of the only black person there, or you're the only black woman. It becomes political when people that you work with, your work colleagues, are having inappropriate conversations about race. They are oppressive in nature. In the way you're treated is different from other members of staff who are not black, who are white. It becomes political when white members of staff, management, use their white privilege to oppress. And you've got to get smart. And what pisses me off about Myriam is 40 years old. You're older than me. And whilst we're always learning, irrespective of the age, I just expected her to know more and know better than me. But in compromising herself, she didn't realize that she compromised me. What do I mean by that? Some of these white people do not see black women as individuals. They put us all in one box and see us all together. And whilst it is unacceptable for them to do that, the reality is that is what they do. But when she's compromising herself and she's doing all of this nonsense, they look at me and I can feel it. They look at me like, why isn't Toya like that? And it's taken a lot of work on my part to make it clear that we are different. So when they make their stupid comments, and I literally have had to put a couple of people in their place, and I have that sinister smile. You know, everything is with a smile with me. Very sinister and insincere, but a smile still arrives. The stereotype, angry black woman, we're aware of it when we walk in. The stereotype black women are always loud, we have to deal with it. All these stereotypes that they think pertains just to black women are what we walk into the workplace with. So we're walking in with stereotype baggage. And then we are literally, day by day, piece by piece, breaking those stereotypes. But it doesn't make it easier when we've got black women who also compromise themselves. And I get it, because maybe it's worked for her in previous places where she compromises herself, where she becomes over familiar just to be accepted. I'm not trying to be accepted in these workplaces, you know. I need you to understand. I'm not trying to be... Listen, going into a workplace is not like a UCAS form. I'm not trying to be accepted, okay? It's not... What I'm trying to do is navigate and become successful in the workplace. And if they accept me, now be their problem. If they don't accept me, now be their problem. I don't really care. As long as I toe the line, as long as I understand how to play the politics, and as long as I set my boundaries, I'll be okay. And I have been okay. I think it's irresponsible to forget that you're a black woman in the workplace. It's irresponsible because Myriam was irresponsible, and this is why the way they treated her. If she told me that they found something on her laptop or she stole something, that would even be more palatable. But lateness? Really? Oh, hell no. Hell to the no. After I had that conversation with Myriam and I walked back into the office, it was really weird. I felt like all eyes were on me. And the spearhead of terminating her contract, he's the guy that usually sits in front of me. But because we're doing this hot desking, I've had to sit somewhere else. And as I walked in, he was looking at me. I looked at him. I continued walking. Like, I cannot take responsibility for Myriam. Myriam cannot take responsibility for me. And we are two different black women. Two different approaches. I'm still there. So despite Myriam's conversation about being stoic, I am still there. These people know that if they're coming to talk to me, they need to come correct. I'm not that type of person. Listen, I decided with these people, I'm not drinking with them. I don't drink anyway, but I'm not going to the pub with them just to stand there and stare at them. It's not going to happen. These inappropriate conversations in there. One time they asked me if I watch Love Island. I said sometimes. Like, I'm very, very... There are pockets of people who, yes, I get on with or whatever. But for the most part, I've had to be very clear about those boundaries. And, you know, my approach in other organisations might be completely different. But the essence of what I'm saying to you here is do your due diligence. And if you've started an organisation and you haven't done your due diligence, start today. Who are the troublemakers? Who are the people that continuously exercise their white privilege to oppress? Who are the people who are intimidated? Because maybe, you know, I've worked with people before, they'll comfortably tell me that, you know, where they live, there's not a lot of black people, that when they're coming to London, they see lots of black people. Who are those people in the office? You have to be able to identify them. And it's only when you do identify them that you're able to, number one, know how to navigate, two, know how to set your boundaries, and number three, know how you are going to manage these people. Because part and parcel of navigating the social aspects of work are managing some of the white people that you work with. And that is the truth. So when someone says, have you got project management experience? The answer is always yes. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to share that because it is a dilemma so far as it was a dilemma that happened with Myriam, but it was also something that I felt like, you know what, I need to talk about it. And like I said, I shared it on my Snapchat, very high level. And I thought, let me come on here and share it. I've got some really, really exciting news. So if you go on my Instagram, I'm going to do a countdown to an announcement. And I'm really excited about what that announcement is going to be. It's another strand to the Toya Talks brand. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. I would say that if you want to keep abreast of any announcements in relation to Toya Talks, make sure you are following the Toya Talks Instagram page. The handle is Toya_Talks. My personal Instagram is Toya_Washington. And of course, my Twitter handle is Toya_W. I just want to thank each and every one of you for listening and being loyal to the Toya Talks podcast and tuning in each and every Tuesday. Thank you for everybody who's rated and reviewed my podcast on Apple Podcasts. And those of you who haven't, please go on Apple Podcasts if that's the platform you listen to the podcast on, and rate and review the podcast. All other listeners on all other platforms, thank you so much for listening. My name has been Toya Washington, and you have been listening to the Toya Talks podcast.